You're standing in the grocery store, holding a pouch of organic baby food with a smiling carrot on it. You're thinking you're being a responsible parent. Then you see the headline: 70% of baby food in America is ultra-processed. Ever wonder what that actually means and why it matters? And if you've been accidentally feeding your kid the nutritional equivalent of McDonald's since they were 6 months old? Today, I'll explain what ultra-processed baby food actually is, like you're 5 years old. By the end, you'll understand which foods are the problem and what they're doing to your kid's body. You'll also know what you should actually buy without losing your mind or your grocery budget. Here's the thing you need to know about ultra-processed foods. When you hear ultra-processed, you're probably picturing fluorescent orange cheese dust or frozen chicken nuggets shaped like dinosaurs. And yeah, those definitely count. But we're talking about baby food here, like pureed peas in a pouch, applesauce in a jar, or teething biscuits shaped like little stars. How processed can smashed-up vegetables really be? Turns out, way more than you'd think. Ultra-processed doesn't just mean a machine touched it. It's a specific category that food scientists use to describe products made with ingredients you'd never have in your pantry. We're talking modified starches, maltodextrin, added fiber extracts, and emulsifiers with names that sound like failed science experiments. If you wouldn't recognize an ingredient at the farmer's market, it's probably ultra-processed. Real food has ingredients, but ultra-processed food has a laboratory resume. A recent study looked at nearly 2,000 baby and toddler food products, the kind parents buy every single day thinking they're making healthy choices. And they found that almost 70% qualified as ultra-processed. Not the obvious stuff either, like cookies and candy. We're talking about products with cute farms on the label, words like organic and natural printed in friendly fonts, and pictures of happy babies. These are the pouches, the puffs, the teething crackers, and the toddler meals marketed as nutritious options. So what's actually in there that makes it ultra-processed? You grab a package of toddler snack puffs from the shelf. The front says, "Made with real vegetables," and you feel like you're winning at parenting. Flip it over and look at the ingredients. The ingredient list has 23 different items listed. Vegetable is number 7, right after rice flour, sugar, and something called vegetable and fruit juice for color. Then you've got added vitamins that sound impressive, some oil, some salt, and a bunch of stuff you'd need a chemistry degree to pronounce. That's what makes it ultra-processed. It started as food, got taken apart in a lab, then reassembled with add-ons to make it shelf-stable, colorful, and just sweet enough that your kid will scream for more. Now here's where it gets real. Your kid isn't going to keel over from eating a pouch. But here's what's happening under the surface. Babies are building their taste preferences right now, like actively constructing what their brain will recognize as food for the rest of their life. If everything they eat is soft, slightly sweet, and engineered to taste the same every single time, that's what their brain locks in as normal. Real food, actual carrots, plain chicken, unsweetened yogurt, starts tasting boring, too bitter, wrong texture. And it's not just taste, it's their gut. Babies are building their microbiome, the trillion tiny bacteria in their intestines that help digest food, regulate immunity, and even affect mood. Ultra-processed foods mess with that system. The added fibers, emulsifiers, and stabilizers can change which bacteria survive and which ones die off. Kids raised on ultra-processed foods have less diverse gut bacteria, and low diversity is linked to allergies, obesity, and digestive issues later in life. You're not just feeding your kid lunch, you're programming their internal software. But wait, if this stuff is so bad, why is it everywhere? Because it's cheap, it's convenient, and it doesn't spoil. You can throw a pouch in your diaper bag, leave it there for 3 weeks, and it's still good. Try that with a banana. Food companies aren't evil masterminds. They're just responding to what parents want. Easy, portable, shelf-stable options that don't require cooking skills or cleanup. But in making food last forever and taste consistent, they've stripped out what makes food actually nourishing. Now, here's the part that makes parents spiral. Not all packaged baby food is ultra-processed. Single-ingredient pouches are totally fine. Just sweet potato, just blueberries, just chicken. If the ingredient list is 1 item long, you're good. That's just convenience. It's the stuff with 8 ingredients and half of them are things you've never heard of that you want to avoid. But companies are smart. They know parents are catching on. So now you've got labels screaming, "No added sugar," while the product is loaded with fruit juice concentrate, which is just sugar with good PR. This matters because feeding kids is already stressful. You're trying not to raise a picky eater, but also not start a battle every meal. You want them to eat healthy, but you also have 17 minutes to get everyone fed, cleaned, and out the door. And now someone's telling you that most of the food marketed specifically for children is problematic. But here's the truth. You can't avoid processed food entirely unless you're ready to quit your job and become a full-time chef with a side gig as a farmer. And even then, your kid's gonna eat a birthday cupcake at daycare and you're gonna survive. The goal isn't perfection. It's just tilting the balance. If 70% of what your kid eats is ultra-processed, yeah, that's a problem. But if 70% is real food and 30% is convenient packaged stuff, you're fine. Nobody's getting a trophy for making everything from scratch. The issue is when ultra-processed becomes the default. When breakfast is a cereal bar, snack is puffs, lunch is a Lunchable, and dinner is chicken nuggets. That's when taste preferences get locked in. That's when the gut microbiome starts looking like a ghost town. That's when you're 3 years in and your kid only eats beige food that crunches. So what do you actually do? Start reading labels like you're a detective. If the ingredient list is longer than a CVS receipt, put it back. Look for single ingredient options when you can. Plain oatmeal instead of the flavored packets. Actual fruit instead of fruit snacks. Cheese cubes instead of cheese crackers. When you do buy packaged stuff, aim for 5 ingredients or less, and make sure you recognize all of them. If it says natural flavors, that's code for, we added something, but we're being vague about it. And here's a weird trick. If a toddler snack has more vitamins added than a multivitamin, that's because the original food had so little nutrition they had to spray it back on. But also, give yourself some grace. You're not a chemist. You didn't sign up to decode ingredient labels like they're puzzles. Food companies have entire departments dedicated to making this stuff confusing. They know that if you're stressed, running late, and your kid is melting down in aisle 7, you're grabbing whatever has a friendly picture on the box. That's not your fault. The system is designed to make the worst options the easiest ones. Here's another thing worth knowing. The effects of ultra-processed foods show up differently in different kids. Some kids seem fine for years. Others develop issues faster. Your neighbor's kid might eat chicken nuggets every day and seem totally healthy. Your kid might eat the same thing and end up with constant stomach aches or skin problems. Every kid's gut bacteria is different. Every immune system responds differently. And here's what really gets me. Baby food used to be simple. Mashed bananas, cooked carrots, plain rice cereal. More ingredients meant more value. More vitamins meant it looked healthier. More flavors meant kids would prefer it over plain food. So what started as simple nutrition became a science project. And parents, exhausted and overwhelmed, trusted that if it was sold in the baby aisle, it must be fine. Here's what you need to understand. This isn't about shame. It's about information. For decades, parents trusted that food made for babies would be good for babies. Turns out that trust was misplaced. The food industry saw a market, filled it with cheap ingredients, added some vitamins to make it look healthy, and slapped a picture of a happy farm on the label. Parents bought it, kids ate it. And now we've got a generation of toddlers who think food comes in pouches, and anything that isn't sweet or crunchy is suspicious. To recap, ultra-processed means made with industrial ingredients you'd never use at home. Not just food that came from a factory. 70% of baby and toddler food falls into this category, even the stuff marketed as healthy. Babies are building taste preferences and gut bacteria right now, and ultra-processed food trains them to prefer sweet and soft over real. Single-ingredient packaged foods are fine. It's the stuff with long ingredient lists you want to avoid. The goal isn't perfection. It's making sure real food is the norm, not the exception. So here's the real question. If 70% of food made specifically for babies is ultra-processed, what does that say about what we're being sold for ourselves? And how much of what's on grocery store shelves is actually food versus edible products?